Alright, so I got some body work to do on this truck. It's a GMC that I have. I've been doing some work on, trying to get it ready for winter, because it's my winter vehicle. So anyway, it needs an inspection sticker, and the rocker panels are starting to rot out. So, if you come down here, you can see I got a hole here. So I'm going to change the outer rocker, and I'm going to change part of the cab corner. So these ones actually, this doesn't actually look too bad on the inside. The other side was in worse shape than this one is, but so these inner rockers are actually pretty good. I'm surprised because the other side, I must have looked at this side instead of the other side when I initially looked at it, because I thought, wow, that's in pretty good shape. I don't think I need the inner rockers. And I didn't get inner rockers. I only got the outer and the cab corners because there was a kit on eBay. It was about like $78, and it came with. So this is what the kit came with. It came with a set of just the sheet metal panels, so that there's stamp for the edge, and then it's dirty because I got it dirty. So I did a bunch of body work on a Suburban that I had, and I bought the full rockers and everything and paid all the big money for them, and I ended up not using them because it wasn't really necessary. You didn't have to get all the way up into the door jambs like that. So I ended up just cutting it out into pretty much this shape, and I ended up throwing away a lot of money by doing that. So this time I just got these, and then it came with the cab corners too. So here's the cab corners. I'm not using the whole cab corner because it goes so high up in there. I'm probably really just going to use like a piece of it, because I don't want to take the bed off. And like I say, this is a winter vehicle I use, so it's going to rust out. And with that Suburban, I spent a lot of money on panels, and once I started getting into it, it's like it was a total waste of money, because it's just, once you start getting the rust on the outside, it's really just torn apart on the inside. So I mean, you'd be taking out, you'd have to do inner rockers, outer rockers, the intermediate center section of rocker. It's just, and then you start like getting into the floor, and then it's into the bracing underneath. It just it totally wasn't worth the money I put into it by doing that. So being I live in New England and the rust takes everything from you, which is why I have a winter vehicle, and I have some summer vehicles that I'm working on because they got some rust too, because the people before me had them and drove them during the winter, because that's what people do, and I'm just crazy by not doing it. So anyway, so I started working on this side. It's kind of rainy out today, or showery, so I'm not going to weld anything in today. So this is what I cut out of this side. So I got the outer cut out, and then you can see how now there's a second panel. It like mirrors the outer rocker that's inside the center here, that I didn't realize was in there until I got in here. I was like, wow, there's two of them. I didn't realize that was there. So this was all rusted out too, so I just trimmed this up high. I'm not gonna really worry about this piece. And then now I got the outer panel that I'm going to connect to. So underneath, like I said, this side is a little worse than the other side. I mean, it's still not horrible, but trying to weld to this might be difficult. I might get some burn through. I mean, here I'm missing a section, and it's just, it gets kind of torn up at the front there. So I gotta strengthen this up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up cutting this probably like right here, just straight along. And I'm just going to tack another piece of a 90. So I'm going to get some sheet metal, and I'm just going to cut like a 2-inch strip, and I'm going to bend it into a 90, and then I'm just going to weld it back into this. I might just cut it low to get the rust off, and then just overlap it and weld it up on top rather than doing a butt weld. Just do like an overlapped weld. I said I haven't really figured it out. I kind of come to it as I get to it. So up in the front here, that panel that I got will tuck up into here, but you got to take the fender off, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not interested in taking the fender off because I'm just kind of doing a crappy job here. So I mean, I got some rust in the fender anyway, so honestly it's not worth it to me, because I don't think it's gonna be a problem, because even with that Suburban I had, it was like totally rotted out all the way down the thing, but the front here actually is a little thicker, so I didn't really have a problem with that. So what I did was I just cut this along the edge of there's kind of like a ridge where it's stamped, and I just cut along the edge of that ridge, and I'm just going to tie into it. So I'll do a butt weld into that with a welder to get that. I mean, I'll show you how I do it on the other side. This was just because I had time, and I was doing this yesterday. So the way I came with that was I first cut this panel to where I needed it, and then I because of the way this is, this panel also tucks in behind the cab corner a little bit right here. So I mean, you can't tell now, but I ended up cutting tearing the bottom of the cab corner away from it so I could slip that up in there, and then I lined it up kind of where it needed to be here, and then I scribed it up there and scribed it along the edge, and then I just cut the line. So I pushed the panel in place where it was going to be, and I used a screwdriver, and I just scored along the outside edge of it to get my cut line, and then I cut it out. So the part I'm having trouble with this cab corner is because I got no real room between the cab and the bed. So grab a flashlight. So I got a body saw, just a little air body saw. I'll end up seeing it later. So what I did was I kind of picked a line like that was up out of the way, that it was someplace I was gonna, like right here. This is out of the rust zone, but it's not like way up here, because you're talking like up here to do with the whole cab corner, and it's not really necessary because it's just down here is what my problem is. So I came in here, I cut this line where I wanted it, and then I came down here, and I started kind of peeling the cab corner off of the back of the cab, and then I pulled a little bit of the seam sealer off, and I used a flat pry bar, and I just pounded it up in there to break the pinch welds, or the spot welds. So I took the body saw, and then I sliced up this corner here, as you can see along that edge. So that's where I'm going to weld the new one in, and I'm probably gonna cut it across here, right underneath that section of seam sealer, and then that's what I'll end up piecing in. So I'm trying to keep the part I have here as complete as I can, so I can just overlap it on top of the cab corner I have. So I'll make a mark on here right next, like with an adjacent mark, so so I can match it back up, and then I can kind of put this into the same shape as the other one and get it pretty close to where it needs to be for when I cut out the part of the cab corner I need. So I'm pretty much just cutting out a section and making a template out of it. I mean, you could see like that's where I got all the foam up in there. So I mean, I got some rust on the back of the cab, but this is kind of what I'm talking about. So it's like you buy the outer rockers and the inner rockers, and then you start getting into it, and this is the crap you get. And it's like, so this is actually in on the back of the cab. So it's like, well, how far how far are you gonna go with this? And then if you got like rust on the frame, I mean, the reason I'm welding in panels and not just doing spray foam is because the majority of this truck's in pretty good shape. I mean, it doesn't really have a really rusty frame, which is kind of why I'm doing this, because the frame's actually in pretty good shape. So it's like, that's why I'm taking the extra effort to kind of weld in a panel. It's otherwise I just spray foam it, because I mean, well, I got a little hole in the bed up there under the wheel wells, but that's not really a big deal. It's been like that for a few years because I knew the guy who owned this before I bought it from them. So yeah, it's like, how far do you want to go? You'd be taking the whole car apart, and you'd be all way up into the floor and everything by the time you're done. And it's like, I mean, if it was like a rebuild or something like that, or if you had like a total vehicle that was like a nice new vehicle or worth a lot of money, it'd be one thing. But it's like, this is the 2003, and it's like, I don't know, I don't want to be here for forever putting panels in and just taking the entire vehicle apart for rocker panels, because say it gets kind of ridiculous. So anyway, so I cut up the back there along that ridge, and then the body saw would only get like halfway in there. So what I ended up doing to get all the way in there was the body saw takes a blade that's just like a hacksaw blade, really. So I mean, that's a body saw blade. It really is just like I mean, it looks exactly like a hacksaw, except they got the tip cut down. So what I did was I took a hacksaw and I stuck it in there, and it actually worked very well. It cut a lot slower because it's got a lot. It takes a lot of the power out of it, but I mean, I was able to get way in there, and then I cut right up to that line, and I got my line. So I was able to tuck behind the cab. I mean, I'm not going to be able to really clean it up too well when I weld it. I might just do a couple of spot welds in there so it's not like a gigantic blob. And then so I might weld to like here, go to where I can, and then I'll just do spot welds in there, and then just Bondo over that, and then probably weld along the back side where I can get it, so it'll just be that little same or I might weld it. I mean, if I can get the nozzle in there, I mean, personally, I don't care if I got a weld line there. I mean, it doesn't bother me. It is what it is, and it really just needs to hold together. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I don't really care if I've got the weld all over the place. I don't even know if I'm gonna grind it all down or if I'm just gonna leave the weld there and paint over it. I mean, like I say, it's just a winter vehicle. It's pretty much a work truck. It's not I'm not looking for it to win any contests. I'm just looking for it to last as long as I can get it to last in the winter, so I don't ruin my other vehicles. Because I mean, I got the dually Cummins that I'm working on, and I don't want to drive that in the winter because I'm going to be in it. Well, I'll probably be in it maybe like 9-10 grand by the time I'm done, which isn't a whole lot because I'll have a rebuilt engine and I'll have new clutch and some body work done on that. So I got this one. I mean, I got a new bed for this. I just got to put it on because I got the rust popping through there. It happened shortly after I bought it. I got cab corners and rockers I got to do on this, but I'm going to do this when I take the bed off, because I mean, this truck's actually an expensive truck and it's worth the effort. So I got the one bed over here. This bed's from South Carolina. That's the one that's going to go on this one. And then I got that one for parts for the dually because I had some damage. So those are the bodywork projects I've got going. I've been trying to do this Dodge for the last 2 years, and that I just haven't had time for it, and everything else keeps getting in the way. And now this, I mean, we're in September, so I need this for the next month or so, and the inspection sticker's up, so it's time to get working on it. So anyway, that was a kind of a long drawn out explanation of what I'm doing, but that's what I'm going to be doing. So I'll show you some of the ways that I remove the spot welds and some of the techniques I use. This side I was grinding the spot welds out, and I was separating them with a screwdriver and a pry bar. And the other side I said, you know what, I'm just going to rip them out, and then I'll weld in those little pieces of steel brackets to repair the tears, because I figured that this side was going to be just like that side, where the rust was just tearing out, and it was getting all holy down there. But this side actually looks like it's going to be better, so I'm probably going to take more time, like I was on the other side, and take it out nice instead of just tearing it out like I was thinking of doing. But I mean, that might change as we get into it. If it starts coming apart and looking like it's a waste of time, I'm just gonna take an air hammer and just, you know, rip it out, use the air hammer to go through the spot welds, and away we go. So I guess let's get started. So with these Chevys and GM trucks, they're really spot welded like every inch. So every one of these little ribs you got here, there's been a spot weld in the middle of it. I mean, this is actually going to have 2 rows of them because of that inner panel, not just the outer panel. You can see it better on this side. I couldn't see it on the other side because of the rust. But you see, so you got 1 row of spot welds here, and then you got another row of spot welds here. So I don't know exactly how crazy I'm going to get with trying to take it apart, because like I say, I mean, we'll see how it goes, but like I say, I might just end up ripping it apart in the end. Yeah, so if it comes apart well, and it looks like the inner panels are salvageable, because that's what I try to do. So I'll take the grinder and I'll start grinding the top of this spot here, and I'll get it real thin, and then I'll come in behind it with a screwdriver and I'll just kind of pry it, and it'll kind of tear it out of the outer panel, because I'm getting rid of that, so it's all right to damage that. So I guess I'll have to start on the inside row first to get the access to the backside row, and we'll see how it goes. Like as you're grinding too, because you might get to a spot where you can't tell if there's one there. So I'll kind of bring the grinder over the top of it, and then you'll see like a little divot, because if you get rust behind it, it'll push out, and then you'll see like a little divot where the spot weld is, and then you know to keep grinding around that to get it thin enough to tear it off. Yeah, so yeah, anyway, well, let's get started. Alright, so we got one here. We got one there, and there, and there. We got about 100 of them. So let's start with this guy. See if you go over the top, you can see it. It's like that if you get like rust and stuff too. But so now that's exactly where it is as you knock the top down. So that's how you could, if you can't see them, you could just kind of go over it like that, and they'll sort of show up, or you'll see most of it. And then as you're grinding, the metal will actually get hot, and sometimes it'll get red around it, and you can see the actual center of it because it stays cooler than the rest, and you can kind of tell where you are. Sometimes it's hard getting started to get underneath the between the two panels. So as you get going, see how you can, oh, I don't know if you can see how you can see a little bit of it starting to dimple out right there. So if it's not thin enough, you can go back over it again a couple times just to get it thinner, and then it will tear. This rock is actually in a lot better shape than the other one was. But, I mean, it's starting to get little holes in it, and there's actually like little wet spots where the water, like right there, there's a drop. Oh, you can't see it because of the way you're facing. But anyway, so there's getting like little drops of like rusty water drops coming out. So it's actually rusted on the inside, and it's working its way out. So I mean, if I don't do it now, it's just going to be bad later. So I might as well do it while I'm doing the other side. That way I'll be in practice. Ow. That hurt. So, pop that. Try not to cut myself open on this. Should be wearing gloves. So, anyway, to save you the humdrum, monotonous, time-consuming process of taking all of these out, I'm going to fast forward, and I'll get more done. I'll probably try some different removal techniques as I go along, because I'm sure I'm going to get frustrated with doing this, and we'll see how it goes. So if something new comes up, I'll turn the camera back on, but as of now I'm just going to be taking out all these spot welds. Alright, so I pretty quickly got tired of trying to use this pry bar to get under there, so I went to a air hammer, and so I tried cutting through one that wasn't ground down, and it just kind of hit it. So I tried to go in and try to get like one of these, and it wasn't cutting through it. So I continued grinding the heads down. I haven't hit them a lot. I'm just kind of going over them for a couple of seconds, or maybe like 10 seconds or something like that on each. And then I'm trying to get in under the rib here. Let's see how it goes. So once you thin them out, see, they go right through them. It's pretty easy. So I don't have to grind through them as far as I was with the screwdriver or with the pry bar. I mean, it's not as friendly to the panels doing it this way, but it's a lot faster. But it kind of stinks when you're trying to be nice and save the things, and then an hour and a half later you realize that it's just all getting torn out anyway. Is it really rust on you? Well, as you can see, this is much faster. So I'm gonna do it this way until I find something better. So, all right, so this is a new panel. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut up this line, and also this got where they have the step in here. You can see how this is high, so I gotta cut this off straight so it fits better, because it kind of dives into the side of the truck as I line it up, and then this is like sticking off that far, so I gotta trim that straight too. That's how I did that. You can knock the burr off too. Alright, so I'll take this in, because on that side I kind of cut the rocker out up against the cab corner, so I'll be able to slide this in there. This tucks under the cab corner. Now I gotta trim off this little piece here too. It's got that same kind of swoop in it the other side had. So Now, this corner butts up into the side of the, because, I guess it'd be easy just to show you. Alright, so. So over here, you see where then you can see where the cab corner meets the side of the cab, where that corner butts into it and doesn't go under there, so I gotta trim the corner of the panel off so I can get it in there. That's gotta go in, so put this here, there, it's probably gotta go in about a half an inch. And then we'll kind of cut that out, see how that works. That's what I got ultimately. Alright, so we're in there now. So, what I'll do is I'll come and scrape this with my screwdriver. Hold it where you want it to be. Hello.
What time the cans will be done drinking?
Huh?
What time cans will be done drinking? What time will cans be done drinking?
Alright, so now I will just cut it out. It doesn't have to be perfect because, I mean, as long as you're close, I mean, what it's really, it's hard to tell when you put one on top of the other because it'll hold it out a little bit, so I just cut it the line.
That's yellow as is where the tomatoes are. Mary needs to water every day.
Okay. Thank you. So, anyway, so what I'll do is I'll cut on the line and then I'll actually kind of make it a little bit wider. But I mean, you're not gonna really tell too much if the thing sticks out a quarter of an inch or an eighth of an inch more than it did initially. It's just one of those things. I mean, you might know it's not exactly where it's supposed to be, but it's not gonna really make or break anything in the end. there's that. That panel wasn't exactly straight. This got a little bit of an arc in it, but this door jamb here, this actual panel has an arc in it anyway. I guess it's pretty subtle that you can't exactly see, so I'm guessing that one that they made, the bottom, I don't know if as they stamp it, it's longer over there because it's actually a shorter arc. I mean, compared to the flat back, as this comes up, if you still have the same, like let's say it's 7 inches, if you have 7 inches, it's not going to roll as far up in the middle as it will on the ends, because this is actually sticking out farther than at the end there. So that's going to start to roll sooner than it will over here. So it's got a little bit of a banana in it. So I just got to cut down the front for the front edge, and then I'll take the body saw and I'll get the pieces that I couldn't get the grinder into. So that's how we get that out. So now at the bottom here, just kind of peel it away, and I might just take the air hammer and just tear it off that center panel. See, so this is what you got on the inside. So I think I'm just going to take an air hammer and try to kind of just tear the two apart, because that's the middle one. I'm not going to be able to weld the middle one just because I can't get at it. So my only concern is really the outside rocker. So I mean, this is what it looks like on the inside. See, the front's usually not too bad. The back is when it starts getting bad, which is usually where you see the problems first. So I mean, this is the inside of the rocker panel, but this is the underneath of the rocker panel. So when you look at it from the outside, it doesn't look too bad, and it actually feels pretty solid too. But the problem is these rust from the inside out. So once you start seeing something on the outside, you're kind of already all done, because the inside's going to look like this. And then you can, like, all that rust in there, that's just rust that fell off when I was cutting it. So I mean, it's in pretty rough shape on the inside. So I'll have probably 5 pounds of rust coming out of here when I'm done. And you can see all that's down here just from what I've done that just fell off out of there. Once I started separating the two panels, it just started coming out. So that was rust that was between the middle panel and the outside panel. So yeah, so pretty much I'm just gonna kind of tear this rest of this off. Like I said, I'm not too concerned about that middle one, and I don't want to spend a ton of time messing around with it because I really can't do anything with it because of where it is. So yeah, that's what I'll do next. I don't know if you can see, but see what I mean? That's how rusted it is inside here. There's actually holes and stuff forming through it. So that's how thin it was. Like I say, I mean, it doesn't look bad on the outside. And once you start getting in there, it's like pretty bad. There's that. Alright. So you got the two panels here. Now I'm just gonna cut this one up out of my way because, like I said, I can't weld to it. I mean, I guess I might be able to. I'm not gonna drill a million holes in the thing though. So I'm just gonna cut this up maybe like an inch or something out of the way, just to get the rust off too, because you don't want the rust continuing to spread. I'll probably spray or put some rust converter on it. We'll do something with what's there. And so I'm gonna cut this probably up, yeah, like in the middle or something like that, all the way back. And then the outside one is the one that I'm concerned with. So I'll clean it up and I'll see how usable this is. I mean, like this piece in the middle I might not be able to use here because it's already kind of tearing. But I went and got some sheet metal. You can see it over there by the tire. And I'm gonna cut some like 2-inch strips or something like that, maybe 2.5, and I'm gonna bend them. So then, like I said before, I'm gonna cut the spots that I can't weld to the bottom of it. I'm just gonna cut them up a little bit, and I'm just gonna tack and weld those strips I make to the rear, the inner rocker, or whatever you call it. And then yeah, then I'll have something to weld the outer rocker to.